Good afternoon and welcome to IBA News this Wednesday, the 21st of September. I'm Elon Aslan-Levy, joining you live from Jerusalem. A possible attack on the Israeli embassy in Ankara was foiled today when an assailant armed with a knife was prevented from penetrating the embassy. The attacker was shot in the leg by a local security guard and lightly wounded. He had reportedly shouted Allahu Akbar as he approached. The Foreign Ministry confirmed that Israeli diplomats and personnel are all safe and well. Emmanuel Nachshon, the Foreign Ministry spokesman, said the assailant reached the outer perimeter of the embassy, adding that it was unclear whether he aimed to attack police officers outside or the embassy itself, and that the incident is under investigation. CNN in Turkey identified the assailant as mentally unstable, and Reuters reports that a suspicious package is being investigated with the area cordoned off. The incident was initially reported as a shooting incident, but this proved to be erroneous. This morning in Samaria, at a checkpoint near Alfei Menashe, security guards shot a 13-year-old girl who did not heed their instructions to stop in what the Defense Ministry believes was a suicide attempt by the girl. According to security officials, the girl approached the Eliyahu crossing holding a bag and ignored orders to stop, as well as the warning shots fired in the air. She was then shot in the legs and taken to hospital. An initial investigation revealed the young teenager told officials that she came to die and that her bag did not contain a weapon upon inspection by a sapper. The girl was identified by Palestinian media as Bara Ramadan Osaiwi of Kalkilia, whose late aunt brandished a knife at Israeli guards at the very same checkpoint last November after leaving a suicide note, and was subsequently shot dead. Responding to questions regarding its rules of engagement, the police stressed officers only shoot to kill as a last resort in life-threatening situations. In the course of the recent wave of terror, security has been beefed up across the capital, primarily surrounding Jerusalem's Old City, a flashpoint of stabbing attacks in recent days. Hundreds of police officers have been deployed in and around the area, which is also monitored around the clock at a special police command center.
At the command center here in the Jerusalem district, we are manning both by our police personnel and officers, as well as the cameras and technology that we're using to cover every part of the city, with our emphasis being on the old city and the center of town. We're both looking for suspects, responding. We dispatch our different units almost instantly whenever we have any specific individuals or any individuals that look suspicious in any way whatsoever. The response of the Israeli police is absolutely proportional. We have to respond according to the threats. Unfortunately, when we're seeing Palestinians waving knives and attacking our police officers and border police that are on the front lines, when we have no choice, we'll have to open fire, and only at the last option will we open fire and shoot to kill.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will meet with US President Barack Obama at his New York hotel later this evening, the 17th meeting between the two since they both assumed office. Addressing the UN General Assembly yesterday, President Obama said Palestinians must reject incitement and recognize Israel's legitimacy, while Israel must recognize that it cannot permanently occupy and settle Palestinian land. Marga Dudkevich reports.
President Barack Obama is expected to discuss Israel's settlement policy, as well as the Jewish state's ongoing occupation of Palestinian land, at his meeting with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today, in what is expected to be the last face-to-face meeting between the two leaders.
We've been concerned about continued settlement activity, the potential viability of a Palestinian state in the face of that settlement activity. And we've raised those directly with the Israeli government. I'm sure President Obama will do so. We do so because we believe that ultimately Israel will be most secure if there is a two-state solution, and they can live side by side in peace and security with an independent and sovereign Palestine. With respect to Middle East peace, I wouldn't rule out the president taking any particular step on the issue. What I would say is his test has always been, can I make a positive difference by engaging on the Israeli-Palestinian issue?
On his part, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will thank Obama for the $38 billion military aid package that also serves America's national interest in maintaining a strong Israel. The two leaders will undoubtedly express the unbreakable alliance between the two countries. However, at his last appearance before the 71st UN General Assembly yesterday, where he sought to justify his 8 years in office and its impact on the world, Obama had very little to say on the Israeli-Palestinian peace conflict, despite receiving a Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts in the past.
And surely Israelis and Palestinians will be better off if Palestinians reject incitement and recognize the legitimacy of Israel. But Israel recognizes that it cannot permanently occupy and settle Palestinian land.
Addressing the General Assembly, outgoing Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon referred to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict as a decade of failed efforts, largely due to Israel's illegal settlement expansion and the intra-Palestinian divide.
This is madness. Replacing a two-state solution with a one-state construct would spell doom. Denying Palestinians their freedom and rightful future, and pushing Israel further from its vision of a Jewish democracy towards greater global isolation.
Prior to setting out for New York, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told reporters Israel expects the international community to have one standard in the war against terrorism, hinting at the double standard adopted by the world when it comes to terrorism against Israelis. Revealing what is expected to be part of his speech when he addresses the UN General Assembly, Netanyahu said he will speak about Israel's justice and the heroism of the country's security forces and members of the public in its uncompromising struggle against terror. He is also expected to refer to Iran's destabilizing activity in the region. While the US and Israel have reached new heights in security cooperation, the personal relationship between Obama and Netanyahu can at best be described as a marriage that went wrong. In a few months' time, Obama will step down, and Netanyahu, who will still be in office, will start courting the next American president. Margot Dudkevich, IBA News.
Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi appeared to go off script yesterday at the UN General Assembly, announcing that he was deviating from his written statement. Al-Sisi appealed directly to the Israeli leadership and public to seize a real opportunity to write a bright page in the history of our region and move towards peace. He called Egypt's experience of peace with Israel wonderful and unique, and called for it to be repeated with an Israeli-Palestinian peace deal. The Egyptian leader called his country an anchor of stability in a highly unstable region, urging the international community to support Egypt's natural role of stabilizing the Middle East. On the sidelines of the General Assembly, President al-Sisi also held a closed-door meeting with Jewish community leaders in New York. For his part, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said he plans to use the recent strengthening of ties with Israel to promote the peace process, calling the implementation of a two-state solution an obligation to the international community. In his address last night at the UN General Assembly, Erdogan said there was a pressing need for the establishment of an independent Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital. Referring to the recent normalization of ties with Israel, Erdogan said he hopes this will allow his country to play a bigger role as a facilitator of peace in the region, as well as bring about an easing of economic and humanitarian challenges facing what he termed his Palestinian brothers and sisters. While Israeli lawmakers were mixed in their reaction to the speeches delivered thus far at the UN, here are two speaking with Israel Television's Oshri Elias.
From our point of view, it's time to go forward and resolve this long-time conflict between us and the Palestinians. I disagree with Obama about this term he used, but in principle, he's right. We have to make every effort we can to finally get a political solution between us and the Palestinians. The reality is now that every morning we wake up with another terror attack, Jerusalem, Hebron, Samaria, wherever it is. Maybe we can contain it, but that's not the reality I would like to see in the next 50 years.
I heard about the things that Obama said in the UN and also what Sisi said. And I think this is not the right way for Israel. I think the country of Israel needs to stay complete. Don't separate lands, and I don't think that there is a place here for another state or another country. Our country is one Israeli country, and it should be a democratic and a Jewish and democratic country. And all of the Arabs that here in Israel are more than welcome to live with us in peace and to prospect with us, but not separate the lands or not. And I don't think that we should build here another country.
A dramatic, never-before-seen black-and-white video showing the 1965 execution of Israeli Mossad agent Eli Cohen in Damascus and its aftermath was aired for the first time on Channel 1. The footage was obtained by Mandy Safdie, head of the Safdie Center for International Diplomacy, who received the video clip from sources in contact with Syrian rebel forces who discovered the footage. The clip is accompanied by joyous Arabic music. The images show Cohen's body being lowered into a coffin after he was hanged in a public square in Damascus on the 18th of May 1965 at 3:30 in the morning. His remains were never retrieved by Israel, and until this day the Syrian regime claims to have no knowledge of the location of his burial site. Cohen successfully infiltrated the Syrian government over a period of 4 years before he was captured, charged with espionage, and executed. His widow Nadia Cohen, who has worked relentlessly over the years to have her husband's remains repatriated, told reporters that she found it difficult to watch the footage, which shows masses of people thronging to watch the execution. She said her only hope is that someone will reveal where her husband is buried and that his remains be brought home. The Obama administration last week foiled a bipartisan bill to sanction the Assad regime for war crimes, according to a report by the Washington Post. Legislators had expected to pass the Caesar Syria Civilian Protection Act with ease after the bill gathered 50 co-sponsors, mostly Democrats. But according to the Post, citing the office of House Speaker Paul Ryan, the Democratic leadership in the House of Representatives withdrew its support after a last-minute, behind-the-scenes intervention by the White House on Friday afternoon. The bill, named for a key Syrian whistleblower who exposed shocking evidence of torture in Assad's jails, would have imposed new sanctions on the Syrian regime, requiring the president to impose new sanctions on entities that trade with or financially support the Syrian regime, including Iran and Russia. Democratic Congressman Elliot Engel, who authored the bill, said he agreed it would have been irresponsible to progress while there was still hope for the recently collapsed ceasefire, but that he is now determined to bring the bill to a vote. The Air Force has released footage of its downing of a Hamas drone spotted hovering over the Gaza Strip coast yesterday. As previously reported, the drone had been under the Army's surveillance from when it was airborne until it was shot down into the water. It did not infiltrate Israeli airspace. 8 days after he suffered a major stroke, former President Shimon Peres still remains in serious but stable condition. Doctors said he is slowly making progress and is now breathing on his own. The 93-year-old veteran statesman today underwent another CT scan. Assessing the results of that examination, his physicians decided to continue with what they called a conservative approach to his treatment, while continuously monitoring his neurological condition. Israel's Paralympic delegation received a warm welcome home late last night at Ben Gurion Airport upon its return from Rio. Over 100 enthusiastic fans were on hand at the terminal to greet the 33 proud athletes, waving flags and congratulatory signs. The group brought home 3 bronze medals, ending 74th overall in the rankings. Rower Moran Samuel won her first Paralympic bronze, while shooter Doron Shaziri and swimmer Inbal Pizarro continued their previous Paralympic success, claiming 3rd place each in their respective competitions. The Ministry of Science, Technology and Space is gearing up for its annual Night of the Scientists event, which will take place tomorrow night. People of all ages are invited to a series of free scientific happenings, including lab tours, experimental workshops, special presentations and lectures by some of the country's leading science brains. Most of the events will begin at 5 p.m. Thursday and continue till well after midnight at universities, research institutes and science museums across the land. Organisers are promising a night of fun and learning for the entire family. Miss Trans Israel Talene Abu Hana has come runner-up in the Miss Trans Star International pageant in Barcelona, which was won by Brazil. During the contest, the 22-year-old Christian Arab Israeli model from Nazareth performed a dance she choreographed dedicated to peace. She told reporters she hopes her experience will inspire transgender Arabs who may feel trapped inside a cage, saying, "I became a woman and I found peace between my body and my soul." In finance, the stock exchange is up today and the shekel is mixed. And in weather, tomorrow is expected to be partly cloudy with a significant drop in temperatures back to the seasonal norm, expected to drop even further over the weekend. There's also a chance of light rain in the morning along the coast and up in the north. That's all for today. Join us again tomorrow for all the latest. I'm Elon Aslan-Levy, and it's a good evening from Jerusalem.